Hey everyone, welcome back. Thanks again for tuning in. If you're new to my channel, if you've been around for a while, appreciate the support. Please don't forget to like, share, subscribe. Today is gonna be fantastic, and I believe today's message is not just for entrepreneurs, it's for anybody in all walks of life. I get asked a lot, Melissa, what are some of the best books that you've read? And of course, there's a gazillion. I don't love to read necessarily, but I've made it a practice in my life. I listen to a lot of audio, but I've also read some great books physically. And there's some that come to mind right away, like How to Win Friends and Influence People. I did a YouTube video on the 5 love languages. That would be right up there. There's of course a few more, but one of the main ones that has had a huge impact in my life was introduced to me when I went on a trip with my mom. It was kind of out of nowhere. My mom asked me to go on this trip to Arizona, and we stayed at the Canyon Ranch spa and wellness resort, and it's incredible. And there they had someone come in and train on this book, and they talked about it. And I don't necessarily want this to be like a book report, but I think sometimes, books are recommended to us and people don't take the time to read it or to listen to them. And I'm just hoping that this video will be able to serve you well in your life, because I know that it has for me. And I am constantly working on becoming a better version of myself, personally growing. I just want to be better, and I'm sure many of you can relate to that. And so the book that I'm referring to today is called The 4 Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz. And many of you, actually it's this one, many of you may have read it. He's written some amazing books as well. The Mastery of Love is phenomenal. The Voice of Knowledge, all about the ego. Very, very powerful read. But I'm going to talk about the 4 agreements today, because I think that it's a great reminder what we need to incorporate more into our lives. And so you may or may not have read this book, but hang with me, stay with me, keep tuning in, because I'm going to dive a little bit deeper and maybe help you further into your study on the 4 agreements. So let's get into it. Number 1, the first agreement: be impeccable with your word. And myself being an entrepreneur, and no matter what position that you're in, I think with a marriage, maybe with your kids, I always kind of use the same examples because those are just our life, right? Maybe you're a mom, maybe you have, children, maybe, you're married or in a relationship, or maybe you're in a leadership position like I am. And one of the things I learned fairly early on, but I wish I learned it right at the beginning of my career, is that, I always wanted to become a leader. I wanted to be in a position where I was influencing and basically a leader is having someone do more than they would do without you. Your mentorship may help them to kind of push them to the next level. And I know I wanted to be in that position. And part of leadership is making sure that we have integrity with our word. And if people start to notice that you're not impeccable with their word, they're going to start to question what it is that you're saying behind their backs. And I do that all the time. I may be in a conversation with someone in our business or just in life, and they're talking negatively about someone. And it's not something that's positive, because sometimes we talk about other people, but we're maybe speaking, positively of them, or we're genuinely wanting to help them and are concerned. Right? There's a difference. Or there's gossip. And gossip is one of the most toxic things that you can have in your life, in relationships, and we all know those people. There was a period of time where, especially when you're younger, you don't understand or you're not aware of your word. And you want to be integral with what it is that's coming out of your mouth. And especially if you're wanting to run a business, or maybe you're an employer of a bunch of employees, or what have you, right? How do you want to be remembered? Do you want to be remembered as someone that always was talking negatively of others behind their back, or someone that was integral with their word? Say only what you mean. Speak with integrity, and avoid using the word to speak against yourself or to gossip, right? And so that's number 1, you guys. Be impeccable with your word. And I like to just check in with myself. As I'm saying, a good rule of thumb, and I'm sure you've heard this before, is could I say what I just said if that person that I was speaking about was standing right beside me, A lot of times in our business, you guys, we're frustrated with our teammates. We're frustrated with what they're doing, or their lack of activity, their lack of results. And we feel that it's necessary to talk to the person beside us that is doing about that teammate. Trust me, there's gonna come a time where that's gonna come back on you, and you wanna make sure that you're impeccable with your word. Number 2, don't take things personally. I would just ask you, what are you holding on to right now? There's likely a relationship in your life right now, just like there is in mine, where I'm holding on. Right? You might be holding on to something that you've taken personally. See, what I've come to know is that when something happens and we kind of take that on, it's likely just a reflection on what it is that's going on in their life. Understand that nothing that others do is because of you. We're not that great. We're not that great. A lot of times we take it personally because oh, woe is me, and oh, they're trying to attack me. They're doing that on purpose. It's a projection of what they may be going through. What's going on in their life. We have to become so immune to the opinions and actions of others. I talked about this in a video I already did. Opinions are worth about as much as we pay for them. I will continue to say that. People will always have opinions. There will always be skeptical people in your life. And we have to just learn not to take it personally. Quite specifically in a leadership role like I'm in with my husband, and many of you that are watching maybe, a lot of times there's a lot of negative, projections on our leadership abilities. Oh, this leader isn't doing this, and they're not, believing in me enough, and da-da-da-da-da. Well, quite often, like I said, that's a reflection on how they're feeling about themselves. They don't believe in themselves. They turn it around and they put all the responsibility on that person. I don't let that affect me anymore. That just bounces off me because I don't want to take it personally. Yes, I'm going to continue to always become better and want to become a better leader, but I'm not going to take what they have to say about me personally. So check yourself. See who in your life you're taking what they think about you or what they've said to you personally. All right, number 3, don't make assumptions. This, I know for a fact, can affect many relationships. Anyone in a marriage ever made assumptions about their spouse, of how they're feeling, maybe they said, and we kind of make that to be what we think it should be, and we make assumptions. But yet we don't ask about it. We don't communicate how we're feeling or how we took that. We just hold that assumption in instead of say, hey, listen, I don't want to make any assumptions. Is this actually what you meant, or how did you mean to say that, or what did you mean by that? Assumptions can be absolutely squashed if we communicate the assumption that we may be internally taking, right? Quite often we just hold on to it. We hold on to it. I would challenge you to find the courage to ask the questions. And my husband always bugs me. He's like, man, you ask a lot of questions. I say, yeah, because I don't want to make any assumptions. I want to make sure that I'm getting to the root of what it is this person's feeling, or maybe they come to you with a problem, or they're going through something. Maybe it's about you, maybe it's about someone else. With asking questions, you can get to the root of the real objection, right? This may go for sales. You may be in a sales position where you're trying to close business and you can't make any assumptions about how they may be feeling. That's why we learn in this position to ask the proper questions to get the sale. And then, so find the courage to ask the questions and then express what it is that you really want. The power of asking questions will solve all assumptions. And I say that firmly. I say that strongly because I believe that. I've had that happen to me in my own life. And again, quite often, in a position where you're frustrated with your spouse, you're frustrated with your team, you're frustrated with your kids. This has worked so well with my kids. When I'm frustrated with them, I get curious. And when I get curious, I ask questions. And then all of a sudden, that feeling of anger or angst or, that negative emotion, it goes away because all of a sudden, ask yourself, have you ever had someone where you made an assumption, you ask questions and you go, oh, they didn't mean that. They meant this. Oh, well, why was I holding on to that? We've all had that. At least I have. And I know that just asking questions and going around there, man, it avoids all misunderstandings. It avoids all the sadness. It avoids all the drama. And if you have drama in your life or you have a lot of misunderstandings or sadness, you're probably holding on to a lot of assumptions that likely the other person that you're making assumptions about has no idea that you're feeling that way. Again, have you ever brought something up to someone, they're like, oh, I didn't know you felt that way. Wow, why didn't you just ask me? And then all of a sudden it's squashed. And then finally, the 4th agreement. Man, I just love this book. Oh, so good. Such great reminders. Always do your best. This is gonna change from time to time. You may be going through different kind of the roller coaster of life where you're kind of down here and you're not giving it your all, and that's okay. You may be sick, you may not be healthy, or when we do our best is when we're feeling the best, when we're healthy and we got good habits and we're kind of rocking and rolling. And I understand it's kind of like this, but no matter what would your life look like if you just created this life where you agreed to yourself, you made the commitment to yourself that you were always going to do your best. And if you weren't doing your best, you were aware of it, self-aware enough to change right away and make the corrective behavior change to now become your best. Hey, we're all in the pursuit of becoming better. But at the end of the day, when you check in and you go, man, how was my day? Did I give it my best? Did I give it my all? Those are the best days. Those are the best feelings. And man, that agreement can change your relationships. It can take it to the next level. If you want to change your relationships, always do your best. Give it everything you got. That's going to avoid self-judgment. That's going to avoid self-abuse. That's going to, most importantly, avoid regret. Avoid regret. When you're giving it your all, when you're giving it your best, there's no time, there's no space to hold for regret. And so you guys, those are the 4 agreements. I trust that brought you some value. I hope that if you haven't read that you're gonna go and grab that book and study this more. Man, it's a whole book and it dives deeper and there's some great stories in there and whatnot. It's a powerful book. But if nothing else, if you just went and you typed out those 4 agreements, you put it on your fridge, you talk to your kids about it, you guys, from a young age, your kids can learn the 4 agreements on life where they may be having, people say mean things to them, these kids nowadays, right? Sometimes they may be saying cruel things or bullying or whatnot. Man, if they're not taking things personally, if they're not speaking ill words back to one another, they're impeccable with their word, they're not making any assumptions about how their friends or family may be thinking of them, and they're always giving it their best. What an example we can set for our future children as they become adults in this world. It's powerful. Let's go change the world together. Practice those 4 agreements. Again, go share this. I know you know someone that needs to hear this. And this was just another great reminder for me today. Hey, go create some joy in your life. As I always say, it doesn't pay to be unhappy. It doesn't pay to have these relationships in your life where you're not following these 4 agreements. Go make some positive changes. Go create some joy. And thank you again for tuning in.